Okay, here we go. This is Garrett, tearstojoyministries.org. I want to share something with you that I never, ever have heard anyone else say, and that is this. Saul, who later became Paul in the Bible, but Saul, on the road to Damascus, was absolutely insane. He sure was. And I want to prove it to you now because I think this is really interesting. We have to ask ourselves a question. Why was Saul on the road to Damascus to begin with? Because he was going into Assyria, to Damascus, to hunt down children of God, to find them, to capture them, to put them in chains, to beat them. That's correct. They were going to be beaten, to torture them. Now you might be thinking, well, Garrett, are you going a little bit too far? How do you know that Saul was going to torture the Christians? Well, it's quite simple, because he was already torturing the Christians in Israel, in Jerusalem. He already was. He was going to bring them back in chains to have them beaten. Yes, the men, women, and possibly children. Some of them were going to be tortured in hideous ways. And a lot of them were going to be murdered. Now listen to this. Saul is in Israel, in Jerusalem and around Jerusalem, hunting down Christians, having them beaten in the temples, having them tortured. What kind of man tortures another man? But you know what's even worse? What kind of man tortures women? But it didn't stop there. Paul also had Christians murdered. That's correct. He had them murdered. Now he gets instructions from the Pharisees and Sadducees to go to Damascus, hunting down all the Christians so they could be put in chains and dragged all the way back to Israel. Do you realize how far that is, to be dragged back in chains? To have them show up before the Sanhedrin, before the religious leaders, so they could be beaten and tortured? Yes, real torture. And to be murdered. You have to be insane to do this. You have to have a multitude of demons living inside of you to be doing this evil. You have to be absolutely infested with demons of all different kinds to be doing this to your fellow Jewish brothers and sisters? Yes, Saul, who would later become Paul, was absolutely insane, without a doubt. Just like Hitler was insane. Just like serial killers go insane. Saul was insane also. And I'll end the video praising Jesus, our Christ. Look at what Jesus did to Saul, turning him into Paul over a period of years. I mean, all praise and glory goes to Jesus for what he did to Saul, transforming him from an absolute monster into a loving, kind, compassionate child of God. And I want you to know something. Jesus is also doing it for me too, over a period of years. And if Jesus can do it for Saul, who later became Paul, and if Jesus can do it for me, guess what? God's Son can do it for you too. Yes, he can. Give him a chance. Get to know him. He can turn your life around the same way he's doing for me and he did for Paul. He can. He can.